Namaste guys and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing this new fantasy novel that by an Indian author, that is The White Wyrm by Abrar Miam. So stay tuned for that. So guys, the book White Wyrm is about a fantasy world, a mystical world realm in which the inhabitants harness the elemental power that flows within their souls, their blood. And they can execute these powers by taking the name of the element out loud. Now the story starts with this girl that is named Hikari waking up in this world without knowing anything about herself or about this world itself, and also without knowing her name also. There she meets a kind lady who she calls Hikari calls her as grandma later in this chapter, who helps her to get adjusted to this world and tells her about this the 100-year wars that this realm city has been enduring, after month of which ended with the death of this hero, the White Wyrm. Now all of this sounds exciting, right? So let's get on with this actual review. So this was all just a gist of what this book was about and the summary of how the Hikari came into the picture. Now there will be certain good things about this book that I really liked, and tons of the things that I really think that author should work on and I just did not like in this book. Now well, let's start with the good things about this book. The first thing is that I really liked the creative storyline about this book. I liked how the thought process behind the storyline, that this realm, mystical world, and a girl suddenly waking up in this world without knowing anything about herself and getting a place in there, and with the secret behind her getting into this world and meeting these people who are also connected with that. I like the idea behind this world, that is the whole realm. And another thing that I really liked about is how the magic system worked in this book, and how it was called elemental magic kind of, that flows within the blood, within the souls of the person enchanting it, or just most of the inhabitants of this realm had this magic in them, and to execute them they just have to say the, like, if the element is fire, like fire element, and the type of the power or the weapon they want to harness through this magic, like a blast, sonic blast or sword kind of thing, just they have to say the name out loud and wow, it happens. And another thing I liked about this book, that there were descriptions were to the point. They did not go all and all around describing one pan with 2 or 3 chapters. Just there is a pan, that's it. The writing style in this book was also simple, easy to read and digest, and it was good. Now let's get on with the turns of the thing that I really did not like in this book. Now the foremost thing that I really need to mention is that the story required a really solid base. There was no base in the story, and the story was just standing on the flimsy pillars that were shaking so much that it could have collapsed at any moment. Now the story started with a really good prologue, and I was really gripped and immersed by that prologue, and I really wanted to read it further and wanted to enjoy the whole fantastical world that I was going to be introduced. But as soon as the main character Hikari was introduced, I really, like, 50% of my interest was lost from there only. And there's another main character in this book, that is Ariharu, and he's the same. There's no, no character development for both of these main characters. There were no descriptions about these main characters. There was actually as far as I remember, like 60 to 70% of the characters did not have any description, which is not a bad thing, but in this contest I think that it would have, just describing the basic facial appearance of the character was enough, because the names are Japanese name. The book is set in Western culture or so, I guess, and there is no connection between these two. I really did not know how to imagine them or how to, think of them. If someone asked me right now to describe these main characters, I would just say their names. That's it. And as much as I like the world in whole for this book, but I was not really able to imagine the world like, oh, this is the building in the realm, and this is how the realm looked. As like, I'm just saying that as a writer or as a in writing, I think it was just, written good, but as a reader, I was not able to imagine the whole world building of this book. Even the main character on whom this whole book title is, the White Wyrm, he just came and left. I like in a chapter somewhere in the like 30-40% of the book, he came, tick, and he left. That's it. There was also a tiny bitsy romance going around with these two main characters, like Hikari and Ariharu, which I was really not getting it, and I really thought there was no need for that. There was no actual romance, but some kind of like Hikari was feeling something for Ariharu. I was like imagining it, oh, why I am feeling suddenly like this, and why I am imagining him like this. There was a contest, there was a background story, because like she was related to someone close to Ariharu, and I got that. But the thing was that as I was not able to imagine the character's age, character's face, character's just character, so I was not able to imagine these two people, or the main female lead Hikari's attraction towards Ariharu. Like it lasted for like a couple of pages only, but it felt really unnecessary. And also, as I've said that uh, all the names, as far as I remember, like 90% of the characters in this book has Japanese names and not Western names or other names, which is totally fine by me. I'm not going totally like it's cultural appropriation or anything like that. It's fine by me. I really don't mind that. But the whole world is here, and then there's a character's name is here. So I was not able to put these two together as a one entity. The whole realm world and the whole book on which the world that this book was based on, it felt completely different from these characters, particularly the names, because I kept on imagining them as Japanese people, and the world was kind of felt like a Western culture world, and there was no again written descriptions that could define these characters. So I was like, it's totally fine for a Japanese person to live in a like Western culture and writing about them. Fine by me, I really don't mind, but I was not able to put these character into these world because there was no connection. I felt it like I hope you can understand. Like if there's a person using Indian names, Indian characters in their work as male leads or any side characters, I would love that they would describe them as Indian, and just their description and something about their culture is enough for me to understand like, oh, I will be able to put them into that surrounding in that scenario. But here there was nothing as such was written, so I was really confused, and I was not able to connect these people with this world. Now, I'm not saying that this is entirely a really bad book and you should totally avoid reading it. No, it's a good book. It's a decent book. Decent is the word. It's a decent book by an indie author and writing for the first time. The first book by this author. It's a good book. It's a fast-pacing book with a really a simple world building, simple storyline, and it's like the what people call beginner friendly fantasy novel. And if you really want to get into fantasy and want to start with something really light without getting into too much complicated world building and remembering too many characters name, you can start with this book. It has a little bit of dystopian elements also, like sci-fi elements, but that's really like side chicks. Mostly it has a fantasy world, fantasy lab build up. The magic is good in this book. The characters are like they are in this book, but yeah, it might become something really good. You should decide it for yourself also, and just read the blurb if it resonates with you. If you like first two chapters of this book, there's always samples available on the internet with Kindles. If it resonates with you, do give it a try. That's not going to harm. So this was all for my book review of The White Wyrm by Abrar Miam. I hope you liked this video. If you have read this book or if you're planning to read this book, do comment in the comment section, or if there are any other books that you would want me to read and review, to comment in the comment section. So goodbye to the next video.